Okay, viewers, let's get into it. The 6th episode in this Jehovah Witness chronological study, we're up to the blood doctrine, from belief to enforcement. And just let me say, it is estimated, before I get into it, no one actually knows the exact number of how many souls the Watchtower took. But here's what the evidence actually gives us. There are no official global statistics. There is no central database, which is very interesting because that leaves the Watchtower with their hands washed of it, tracking deaths caused by refusal of blood transfusions. In other words, if a person dies from not having the blood transfusion, they're going to say they died from the particular problem that they have, say a motor car accident or giving birth. They're going to say those things instead of saying that the person could have been saved by a blood transfusion, and putting on the death certificate, died from blood transfusion, religious blood transfusion refusal. That'll trace it to the Watchtower Society. They're not going to do that. Even Jehovah Witnesses themselves say claims about large numbers are unfounded and not measurable. That's because they don't want to be liable. Number 2, some medical estimates exist, but they are rough. Common estimate used in medical literature is 1,000 deaths per year worldwide, estimated lost under the blood doctrine. And if that's 1,000 deaths per year, that's about 3 deaths per day because of the blood doctrine worldwide. It's important. This is not a verified count. It's an extrapolation, not hard data. But we've got to remember, this is a rough estimate coming from medical literature. Number 3. Case level evidence shows deaths do happen. Courts and coroners have confirmed individual cases where refusal contributed to death. Medical reviews acknowledge some members have died after refusing blood. See, the Watchtower is going to leave this as inconspicuous as they can because they don't want to be liable. Yet they'll send people into the hospitals to make sure you die. Clinical data, smaller scale studies. Point number 4, in specific studies, mortality linked to severe anemia without transfusion is documented. Deaths occur when hypoglobin drops extremely low. Surgical risk, refusal of blood can add 0.5% to 1.5 mortality risk in some operations. Number 5, pushback from within medicine. Some reviews say deaths due to refusal are relatively uncommon overall. Modern bloodless medicine reduces risk in many cases. That doesn't make it right. So what's the honest conclusion, viewers, at this point, just to open? Number 1, confirmed. People have died because of the blood doctrine. Number 2, unconfirmed, total global number. That works for the Watchtower. Number 3, estimated loosely, hundreds to possibly around 1,000 per year, depending on assumptions. Reality, it varies massively depending on case, treatment, and access to alternatives. The uncomfortable truth. This isn't a clean statistic problem. It's a collision of. This is a collision of, number 1, religious conviction. Number 2, medical risk. Number 3, legal autonomy. These people, under the belief of the Jehovah Witnesses, are saying, I'm autonomous, I can, while it's religious, they're saying, I've got the autonomy to choose if I want blood or not, and then they die. And once you add children into the question, things get a lot more morally tense. And there's a couple of videos on the Pro Theologist channel, terrible, sad videos about what they've done to children with this blood doctrine. So there's no official number, but medical estimates suggest hundreds to possibly around 1,000 Jehovah's Witnesses may die each year after refusing blood transfusions, and the exact number is unknown, but the risk is real and documented. So let's move on to the study on the blood doctrine. Episode number 6, the blood doctrine, from belief to enforcement. When a doctrine reaches into emergency medicine, loyalty stops being theoretical. It becomes physical. The blood transfusion ban was introduced by Jehovah's Witnesses leadership in 1945, and by 1961 refusal was no longer just taught as obedience, but enforced through congregational discipline. What began as belief became a high-stakes compliance marker, where a medical decision could become a test of spiritual identity, and this is what they do to you. They base your position with God on your obedience to the organisation, and that's what makes this organisation a cult. Teaching point number 1. The doctrine moved medical judgment into the field of moral obedience. And here's a statistic. Peer-reviewed summaries of the policy history state that the Watchtower Society introduced the blood refusal policy in 1945. Later, J.W. Material continued to define abstaining from blood as including refusal of transfusions of the whole blood and its 4 main components: red cells, white cells, platelets, and plasma. And that matters, viewers, because once a treatment is redefined as disobedience rather than life-saving, the patient is no longer simply choosing between medical options. They are choosing between survival and religious beliefs, religious fidelity. And the pressure becomes total because the body is no longer just biological. It becomes the battleground for proof of loyalty, and the loyalties given to a doctrine that isn't true. Teaching point number 2. By 1961, the issue was not only conscience, it was discipline. Statistic. Jehovah's Witness historical material says that beginning in 1961, those who accepted blood transfusions and remained unrepentant were disfellowshipped. And what comes with disfellowshipping? Shunning. A 1961 Watchtower article also stated that a baptized Christian who accepted a transfusion and did not show proper repentance could also be disfellowshipped, while repentance might spare expulsion. You've got to understand, in the Watchtower Society, the Congregationalists lose everything if they're disfellowshipped. Family, the lot. Their social circle, possibly their job, everything goes. And that tells you this was not merely advice. It had enforced, it had reinforcement and enforcement teeth. This was a very severe malicious doctrine. Once expulsion enters the picture, the decision is no longer private. It becomes social, survival. Humans love talking about free choice, while building systems where the price of the wrong choice is losing your family, your congregation, and your whole emotional world. And it's very noble and very civilized, isn't it? No, it's not. Teaching point number 3. Later nuance did not remove the core prohibition. It made the boundary more technical. Here's a statistic. Official JW guidance later allowed personal decisions on some blood fractions and certain procedures involving one's own blood, while keeping the ban on whole blood and the 4 primary components in place. Official worksheets and policy summaries still instruct members to decide individually on fractions and some procedures, but not on the core prohibition itself. This is important because nuance can feel like freedom without actually being freedom. The rule remains central, but the edges become more detailed. And this often strengthens a system rather than softening it, because members must now master a complicated moral map under pressure, sometimes in an emergency room, sometimes half-conscious, sometimes with terrified relatives standing there. So here's an example. A person, a Jehovah's Witness, is rushed into hospital after a major accident. Doctors say blood could save his life. His wife knows the doctrine. His elders know the doctrine. They've come into the hospital. His children know the doctrine. In that moment, the decision is not simply medical. It is loaded with fear, identity, and belonging. If he refuses, that's it. He may die. If he accepts, he may survive, but face spiritual condemnation and possible loss of community. The negative outcome is brutal either way. The body is endangered by one choice, and the whole social world is endangered by the other. And so this is how lethal and evil the blood doctrine is, and so why this matters. When doctrine governs emergency medicine, the cost is not abstract, it is bodily. A rule about blood is not like a rule about meeting attendance or holiday customs. It can reach a person at the point of trauma, surgery, childbirth, or sudden illness. And that is where institutional power stops being symbolic and starts entering flesh. So here is some practical steps. Practical step number 1. Write down one belief you were taught that carried a social penalty for disobedience. Number 2. Ask whether you truly chose it or whether you were cornered into it by fear or loss. Number 3. Write this sentence and finish it honestly. My conscience belongs to me when, and there's a space. Number 4. Separate conviction from coercion. If punishment surrounds the decision, it is not pure conscience. So here's a reflection question as we approach close. What happens to a person's freedom when disobedience risks losing everyone they love? Jeez, it's terrible, isn't it? A 7-day challenge. Each day, identify one area where fear of rejection may be shaping your decisions more than truth is. Here's a parable and a principle. A Jehovah's Witness's spirit can endure sickness, but a crushed spirit who can bear? A system that can crush the spirit in the name of obedience has already crossed into dangerous ground. And let me remind you, the Jehovah's Witnesses don't even think you have a spirit. It's such a messed up organization. In closing, when a doctrine can govern your body in crisis and your relationships afterward, it is no longer just a belief. It is evil. It is control. I'm Dr. J.W. Ayub. I'll see you in episode 7, Organ Transplants, Cannibalism, then Conscious Matter. That's episode 7. Bye for now.